There must be a better solution.
Christian Talion of Grand Canyon Education said, while there are many options, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the show, he goes on to say, some solutions are more effective on combating this problem than others. And lastly, Matthew Bybee of Satcom Direct said, quote, until we get past the traditional antiquated password use requirement and move towards passwordless technologies, we continue to struggle with lateral movement via credential compromise. So I'm going to start with you, Steve. Both of these just have to isolate on the technologies now as we're coming to. Matthew thinks if we could sort of in unison get on to passwordless, a better authentication scheme, we could solve a lot of these problems because we wouldn't have to worry nearly as much about lateral movement. And then Christian just says, well, there's better technologies than others. So let me ask you, to Matthew's comment and Christian's comment, what say you?
I say, I wish we were back 10 years when this conversation really was around human identities and identity and access management in its first phase. But what we're really calling out here is we're now on to generation 2, where systems and processes are all identities now, and more, those are the things that are going wrong or that we're having to be able to identify. And passwords and system admin accounts are still the primary way to be able to create and enable those things. So passwordless is the right idea, but stop thinking about passwordless for humans. And let's realize that identity and access management is now on generation 2, where everything is an identity. And so it's not a passwordless problem. We're actually having to go back and rethink some of the core capabilities to identify all those things, discover them, and then go forward on the journey and apply some new technology.
Sandy, I take it you can reference the passwordless discussion, but also, I mean, what are the technologies that give you the biggest bang for the buck in this situation? Because again, a lot were listed.
Yeah, a lot were listed. And I feel these days we are no longer gatekeepers. We're actually toolsmiths and advisors. So again, just to be forward, technology is not going to solve a process problem. And the more inundated and cumbersome you make it for a user by cobbling these technologies together, it actually starts to compound that people and process problem. People will seek other avenues of less constraint or the path of least resistance to accomplish their tasks. So if you understand a day in the life of a developer and align it with tactics and techniques of an attacker, you will actually see a parallel or a trend that they actually have the same behaviors, just different motives. So this is when focusing on behaviors and relationships and looking at UEBA and ML, for example, are imperative when combating lateral movement.
Have you gone through this exercise with your team? Like in advertising, you create these sort of like vision boards of like, this is the target we're trying to reach. But it was like, this is the person who's trying to attack us, and this is what they're trying to do. Do you go, let's now walk through their process? Have you done this as an exercise?
So you're thinking of like red teaming and how an adversary looks?
Even before you go to the red teaming, like, let's just walk through. What would they do? Because we referenced this earlier in the show. What would they do? What are the kinds of avenues they'd take advantage of here?
Yeah, absolutely. So spirit phishing, that's the very, very common one, especially on mobile devices with people being remote. They're not checking links or really being able to safeguard links. They're just going to click if they're looking at it in their phone. So that's going to be the biggest one, is phishing and making sure users are aware of what that looks like and how that's going to look, even attachments or downloading those attachments. And then again, like I mentioned before, there's data dumps online that you can buy of compromised or data that's been exfiltrated from previous campaigns prior, and you can just buy a whole lot of credentials to try and use.
All right, I'm going to throw this to both of you because we did mention a ton of technologies from, and I know, by the way, I know this is not a technology problem, as you pointed, it's a people and process problem, but I'm still throwing this out. You got 3 technologies you can use to do the most effective work on this problem of lateral movement. What are the first 3 you start with, Steve?
Identity and access management program, first and foremost. Start there. I can't protect what I can't see, right? I mean, if I don't know who has access to what. So let me get all over identity discovery. Second thing, correlate it all with a UBA. What I want to know is how they're behaving. Not whether they're behaving well or not, but let's get the identities and the behavior, and then let's automate with SOAR to figure out what to do when they misbehave. Those are the three.
SOAR being the third. Okay. Sandy, you got 3 technologies to use to get the most bang for your buck. What are you using?
Well, first one I'm going to use is SSL decryption. I want to know exactly what those handshakes look like, what they're doing. I want that visibility east-west. I want it everywhere. So that would be the first I'm doing. Then I would probably move to a SIM product because those actually have UEBA and SOAR capabilities built in. So I'm cheating there, Steve. And then I'd start to look at XDR, which is going to stitch together both EDR and my NDR. So those are the 3 I would go with as my Swiss Army knife of security things.
You actually picked smartly, especially with the 2 and 3, because you picked the ones that sort of
they combine.
group a ton together.
Yeah,
there you go.
See,
yeah, she was thinking a lot smarter than you.
That's why we bring these folks on, right? And so what we always say is the best security is simple security, right? So what she did was she picked the right tools so that I didn't have to manage more tools because simple is better in security.